One subject in Jyotish, as taught to me, is something called combinations for excessive libido. So these are combinations that point to a personality or character that is going to express very strongly, one way or another, in the domain of sexuality with more or less grace. Some people can do this more gracefully and some people less, most less. So um, there are 6 houses and 5 planets that figure very strongly in what normal society would term excessive libido. The 6 houses are the first, which represents the body and personality of the owner of the horoscope. The fourth house, which is also a house actually of the body and the experience of the body, and also of sukha, of happiness, and of the manas, of the emotional mind, the mother, the foundational experiences of it in life. Some of the root psychology of a person originates in the fourth house. And the seventh house, which is the house of partners and can be a house of coupling, although it's traditionally a house of partners. And then the Trikasthanas, the 6th, 8th, and 12th house, which also can all give rise to excessive expression of sexuality. The 4 planets, or 5 planets, because we're going to include the nodes, so either Rahu, Ketu, particularly Rahu here, but there's 2 camps. There's the camp of Venus and Moon. Venus and Moon are both feminine planets, which govern more of the high side of sexuality, beauty, harmony, some type of grace with it. And Saturn and Mars, which governs more of the coarse, rough, aggressive side of sexuality. So occasionally Venus and Moon themselves can produce an excessive interest in sexuality, but definitely when either Venus Moon conjoins with either Mars or Saturn in the houses 1, 4, 7, 6, 8, or 12, without a modifying aspect from a strong Jupiter, the person will tend to have an excessive interest in sexuality, which may not always result in an excessive display of sexuality, but more often than not does. So here is the horoscope of Jeffrey Epstein. I could only get the day of his birth from the web, so I have cast it using the first syllable of his name as a Capricorn rising. We could also look at it from the moon, which would be further evidence of these types of patterns. But here we have it. And actually, I think maybe for the sake of the rules I'm laying out, I will look at it from the moon. So just give me a second here to change his ascendant. Although casting a horoscope from the name is a valid way to do it, from the syllable of the first name. But if we look at his horoscope from the moon, we see here that he indeed has Venus and Mars conjoined in the 12th house, which is a house of secrecy, secret things. So whenever these combinations fall in Dusthanas, the person will endeavor to keep what they're doing secret. They tend to be more open in houses 1, 4, and 7. So he indeed has Venus and Mars conjoined in a sign of Saturn, with a parivartana between Saturn and Venus in his 12th house. The house is also the house of bhoga, and any type of bhoga of enjoyment usually involves expenditure of bodily fluids, effort, etc. Now, why is this combination so virulent in his horoscope? Both Venus and Mars fall in the nakshatra Purva Bhadrapada, which is a nakshatra that can be associated with very high spirituality, but more often ends up being associated with some form of evil or depravity. So he has these 2 planets in a planetary war within 1 degree of each other here in Purva Bhadrapada, in the 12th from his moon. Now, if we count from his name, they would fall in the 2nd house, but they would still, from there, they would rule angles and trines, or at least yes, Mars would rule an angle. So that is one person who definitely has displayed the truth of that principle. Another person is, of course, his good friend Donald Trump. Here we have Moon with a node in the 4th house in the sign of Mars, aspected by Mars from the ascendant. So we have one combination for excessive libido here, and we have another one up here in the 12th where we have Venus conjoined with Saturn in a sign of the Moon. So Donald Trump has two combinations going for him, and again, a coldness, secrecy, unpleasantness is also very apparent in this combination.